But out of that, a new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor Doug, and last Friday, Len and Paula shared their big lessons from 2020. So today, Joe and OG will share their top 5. Stay tuned to hear from our fearless leaders. What? Fearless leaders? Oh yeah, that's right. Joe wrote the script again. Okay. Plus, during our headline segment, we'll dish out all of the end-of-year tax moves you need to know. To help us, we welcome the king of all tax strategies, Ed Slott. To bring things home for our live shows for 2020, we'll toss out the Haven Lifeline to a guy named Nick from Alaska. And I'll delight you with some holiday-related trivia. And now, two guys who will finally share some lessons. Maybe. It's Joe and O-G.
Hey everybody, welcome to Wednesday of Holiday Week. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter, and across the card table from me, the gentleman who considers every day a holiday. And so every week is a holiday week, Mr. OG.
Well, it's just every week that I get to sit across the table from you. It's like a giant vacation.
Living the dream, baby. How was your birthday on Monday, besides recording?
Epic.
Does that mean you don't remember any of it?
I don't. It's kind of a middle birthday, right? There's no real celebration. I think it was George Carlin had this bit where he said you should have a birthday party every year until you get to 10. And then on the big things, 13, 16, 18, 21. And then every 10 years until you hit 90.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
And then every year after that, because 90, you're like, I made it to 91. Ooh, party.
Did I tell you about when we went to Vermont? Did I tell you I went to Vermont?
Yeah, you mentioned it.
Tell you about that? When we went there, we went to this fantastic little museum in a city called St. Johnsbury. They had a letter written to a young girl who grew up there, and her dad had met Robert Louis Stevenson, and she had a problem, OG, which was that her birthday was on Christmas Day. And so she was always being one-upped by the big guy's birthday, right? So Robert Louis Stevenson sent her a letter, which we found, Cheryl and I found in this museum, that was awesome. From Robert Louis Stevenson to this girl saying, now that I'm of a certain age and I don't need my birthday anymore, as long as you take care of it and make sure that you treat it well, and he's got all of these things she has to do, I am going to give you my birthday.
Nice.
Because I don't need it anymore. Yeah, it's the coolest letter. So fantastic. Well, it feels like it's our listener's birthday today and our birthday for a couple of reasons. This is always our favorite show of the year. Usually we have some financial celebrity on with us doing this show. We've had, if you go back to prior years, Jill Schlesinger from CBS News has helped us. We've had Gene Chatzky from the Today Show help us. We've had David Bach, the 9-time New York Times best-selling author, help us with this segment. You know what? 2020 OG has been such a dumpster fire of a year. I thought, who better to talk about the events of 2020 than you and I? So buckle in, everybody. Sit back, relax, maybe pour yourself a drink, because we have one quick headline and then we are going to talk about the events of 2020.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamin's headlines.
And in our first and only headline of today's show, every year it makes sense to pay attention to taxes. And this year you want to pay attention maybe a little more than usual. So we have with us on my dad's shortwave radio, the guy who we refer to as the king of tax strategists, Ed Slott, joins us. How are you, Ed?
Hey, Joe, great to be back. Do you want me to do some static for the shortwave radio?
It's staticky enough. You know what you do, Ed? You remember these days. You just jiggle it.
Yeah, right. Or you smack it right.
That's right. Now, is calling you king of the tax nerds, is that fair?
I don't know. Let's just help people.
Let's do that, because I know you've got a bunch of them, but specifically, let's talk about the CARES Act. Is there anything different this year than last year with regard to the CARES Act, Ed?
Well, everything's different because it didn't exist last year. This world didn't exist last year. Think about it. A year ago, the beginning of 2020, could you even imagine if you looked into the future, everybody walking around with masks?
Oh, my God.
Really. So anyway, yeah, the CARES Act came out in March. It affects generally only 2020. And one of the big items that came out is the waiver of required minimum distribution. So anybody taking those annoying payments that they have to take got a year off. But I think you should look at that again. Don't look at it, oh, good, I got a year off, because all you did is push it to another year. You don't get away with anything. In other words, if you're not taking money out of your IRA, that means it's just building for a later time, maybe at a higher bracket. Maybe you want to look at and see what bracket you might be in. It's late enough in the year you can have a good projection, and maybe you want to take some money voluntarily. Oh, the horror. Take money out voluntarily, but if you're in a low bracket, it may pay to knock down that IRA balance. Many people's income due to COVID in this crazy year is down. So why not take advantage of lower rates? Many people have lower rates. Plus, another thing you can do that you couldn't do in a regular year where there are RMDs, if you were subject to RMDs, which you're not, if you just tuned in, if you're not for 2020, if you were subject to RMDs, you could not convert RMDs to a Roth IRA. It's just a tax rule. But because there are no RMDs this year, you can do what would have been an RMD or any amount to convert it. So you can not only take money, maybe lock in a lower tax rate. We don't know what rates in the future are going to be, but we know what they are now, and they're the lowest in history. Lock in the low rate, then move it to a Roth IRA. Next year, when RMDs begin, you won't be able to convert those RMDs to a Roth. So you have a closing window of opportunity to voluntarily take some money out and make a good year-end tax move.
I love the planning inherent in your answer, Ed, because obviously tax planning is so important. And let's talk, shift a little bit here. Charitable donations this year, if somebody's trying to help out charities, has anything changed?
Well, yeah, you get another break. I don't know how much of a break it is. In the CARES Act, everybody gets to deduct $300, even if you don't itemize. It's for non-itemizers. Most people get no benefit out of the gifts they give to charity. No tax benefit. Of course, there's a social benefit and a charitable benefit, but no tax benefit because most people don't itemize deductions anymore since the change in the tax law a few years ago. Most people use the higher standard deduction, so they get no tax benefit. So the CARES Act threw in a little bonus for us, a $300 deduction, even if you don't itemize. But the big item would be something called qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. These are direct transfers from your IRA to charity, but the only negative about that, it doesn't apply to enough people, or most people. To qualify for this benefit, it only applies to IRA owners or IRA beneficiaries who are 70 and a half years old or older. So, not a big population, but not everybody. Anyway, if you're in that population of 70 and a half years old or older and you have an IRA, not from a plan or a 401k, only IRAs, this is the best way to give to charity. And I'm not saying do more giving just to get a tax deduction. If I would have said that, I'd say give away everything you have and you'll never pay taxes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing the giving that a lot of people are thinking about right now at year-end and giving season. The giving you are going to do anyway. If you qualify for this QCD, qualified charitable distribution, then do it as a direct transfer from your IRA to charity. You're knocking down the IRA balance at zero tax costs, even though you're not subject to RMD. Some people are not doing this because they say, well, I have no RMD income to offset. You're still knocking down that IRA balance at zero. IRA money, pre-tax, taxable money, is the best money to give to charity because it's loaded with tax. So this is your opportunity to make the gifts you are going to make anyway, but do it as a direct transfer from your IRA to charity, knocking down that balance and pulling out that money from an IRA at zero tax cost.
Well, it's fantastic. The charity still gets their money, and on your end, you save yourself a few bucks too. So it's great for everybody. Yeah. You always have feelings every year. I know we've talked to you on the path about Roth conversions. What about this year in Roth conversions, Ed?
I love Roth conversions, and some people don't agree with me because nobody likes paying the tax up front. But you got to look long term. You get something for your money. Freedom, tax freedom for the rest of your life. Zero tax. Plus, you never have to take required minimum distributions. And because this has been a crazy year for a lot of people that had their incomes lowered, same thing like I just talked about before, maybe a good time to look at a Roth conversion and use up those low brackets. If you don't use them, you lose them. You don't get to use them next year if you don't use them this year. So I would look at start moving some of your IRA money to a Roth IRA. And what it really does, it removes the worry about the uncertainty of what future higher taxes can do to your standard of living in retirement. Anytime you can get that money out again out of your IRA at a low bracket and move it to a tax-free account, that's a great deal. Remember, it's income tax-free for the rest of your life, and even after the new Secure Act, another 10 years for most of your non-spouse beneficiaries. Growing income tax-free with no required minimum distributions during your lifetime. And if you did need the money, it would be tax-free. So it's a good hedge. I believe tax rates are going to go up at some point. Look at our debts and deficits. You know, it's not even a political thing anymore. It's the math. Look, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. At this point, any politician who tells you I can cut your taxes is really just saying, I'm bad at math. Please help me.
I shouldn't be laughing because it's not funny. It really is not funny, but I love the way you put that. You and your team, by the way, have lots of resources for people where they can get tax help. Tell me how they find it, Ed.
Well, they go to our website, irahelp.com, www.irahelp.com. We answer questions for consumers. We have information on advisor training. And that's another tip for everybody. Make sure your advisor is up to date on all these rules. Most are not. They are not taking the training you hope they would. You know, it's like going to a doctor. Would you go to a surgeon and says, I once read a book about it. Let's give it a shot. You know? I
feel lucky.
So you want to make sure your advisors are up to date. As you said, all these new rules came in. You have the Secure Act, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the CARES Act, IRS relief rulings coming out almost daily. You have to know that whoever your tax or financial advisors are up to date, helping you pay the least. You ever hear the saying, Joe, less is more?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, less is not more. Less is less, except when it comes to taxes. The less you pay, the more you keep. But to keep more and pay less, you have to be educated with programs like this and work with an educated advisor.
I will link to irahelp.com, by the way, everybody, on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. Ed, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy day to help our stackers. Happy holidays to you and yours, man.
Yep. You remember, less is more. Tax-free is always better.
That's the gift that keeps giving. Thank you so much.
Okay, Joe.
Big thanks to Ed for calling in. You know, I talked to a couple people this week who, believe it or not, do not know who Ed Slott was. I think of him as the king of tax people. I remember you could not for a while there not see Ed Slott on TV.
I mean, he has so many great tax books, you know, like how to optimize your tax strategy in retirement. And he's got a great newsletter subscription service too. If you're kind of a pro and need to kind of dig into the weeds, and he'll go through like all the private letter rulings that are applicable for advisors and tax people. It's quite a thing.
Smart guy. Well, coming up next, we are going to talk about 5 events each. OG and I have not compared notes ahead of time. We're going to talk about what we see as the biggest events that maybe we should have learned from 2020. But first, do you own or rent your home? Well, sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. Can it? You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. And it's a good thing too, because you already have so much to do around your home. especially here, OG, this week. It's just chaos week. So why not make it easy? Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico Easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Well, we got something else that is easy, and that is get to just sit back and listen to you and I. So why don't we get this top 5 episode started? All right, I've got my list right here, man. I don't know about your list, but I actually had 6 and I couldn't figure out which one to get rid of. So I have one that's kind of like
got a bonus
5.1. Yeah. That I think should be my, honorable mention. We'll call it.
Okay. Let's say like the 6th man of the year, like in NBA.
That's exactly what it is.
Like the kicker.
Yeah. Yes.
In the football team, the designated hitter on your baseball program, the pinch runner, the closer,
bringing it home,
the guy who gets subbed in at the last second in a soccer match for no apparent reason.
The 6th man.
I think they play with like 9 or 11 or 14. Or
I'm talking about basketball.
Oh, back to basketball. Got it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Let's just mix our analogies.
Please.
So my honorable mention here, number 6 on my list that I thought was important enough for us to talk about was, so after COVID hits and everybody's at home, OG, midway through this year, there was this phenomenon that I think you and I really haven't seen since 2002. It got washed out back in the day. And maybe you know what I'm about to refer to, but day traders come out of the woodwork in the middle of this year, really spurred on by some showboaters, right? Just some big time media personalities who are all full of just absolutely crap to say. And frankly, I think a lot of people were worse off for it. I mean, maybe it made some millions, but I have a feeling there's a ton of people out there that Mr. Barstool Sports, who some people don't think is kidding around or aren't smart enough to know how much he's kidding around, that got burned pretty bad from day trading. In fact, you know, and this is how bad it got. We had the headline about some people who use margin, right? Got in way over their head. And one young man who even took his own life because of that. So this day trading, boom, what the hell was that about this year?
And all you had to do is just, pardon the expression, go into a coma for 9 months. You know, could you imagine that if you were like on the other side of the moon, figuratively, and you came back and you're like, hey guys, how's it going? And everyone's like, dude, it's so crazy. And you go, wait, hold on, before you tell me, how's my money? And then they go, oh, well, let me tell you a story. He goes, I don't want to hear the story. Just what how's my money? Oh, you're up like 13% in the S&P. Oh, all right. Hey, whatever. All right, cool.
What else happened?
Could have been that bad.
Yeah, exactly. You did very well by not day trading, but we've got this. And I really felt like stocks is gambling really just made a big comeback this year.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Not good. So that's my first one. And the takeaway is that's leading nowhere good, guys. That's leading nowhere good. That is, in fact, later on in the year, we talked to Jack Schwager about traders. And Jack Schwager even said that the pros who actually do make money at this, and we hear all the time that it's an efficient market, you can't make money. Jack Schwager said, yeah, you can, but you probably don't want to go through what it takes to get there. And he actually, my favorite quote, I think, from that interview was, even though he doesn't believe in the efficient market for 99.9% of us, we should pretend that's true. We should pretend it is, because it's true for most of us. All right.
Well, if you
on
think
that note,
I was going to say, if you think that the S&P averages 10% a year, as it does, you needed this year's 13.5 to average out, right? So
kick it up. Yeah.
If your large cap stuff didn't go up 13%, I'm not saying your whole portfolio should, but you know, anyways.
All right. Just to make this a little more professional, we have to have Mr. DJ sounding, a British DJ guy come in here. So, OG, you want to go first or second?
Oh, that was your honorable mention. Now we get to start for real.
Yeah, now we'll start for real.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that we had warm-ups.
Well, you said, do you have, did we just go over this? I thought we just went over this.
I wasn't paying attention. My number 6 is I don't pay attention.
Yes. I think anybody who's listened to more than 2 episodes will know that. So do you want to go first or last?
I don't care. Whatever.
All right. Well, DJ Man, kick us off.
Number 5.
Guess I'm going first. This is in no particular order. Are we supposed to rank these also? I'm unclear about all of these rules. It's been so long since we've done a top 5.
It's so funny that we even talked about this ahead of time, that we were going to rank these
I think that was missed. Yeah, okay.
That's why that was a notable honorable mention, because we need to bring up that leads nowhere well, but I'm sure most of our listeners didn't do the day trading thing. That's why it was number 6 for me, but it was still big. It was still
Gotcha.
Big event.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to put mine in they're all equally important order.
No. Don't get all.
Can I go chronologically?
No. How about if you go from least impact to most impact?
I can't.
Impacts the most people to impacts the least people.
I can't make a judgment call on that. I'm just going to put them in the order that I wrote them. Number 5.
Oh boy.
Interest rate 0%. Everybody, especially now. I mean, it just happened a week ago. People are on the Facebook page. People are on other Facebook pages. People are on Twitter. My God, the horror. How dare they take my savings account from 0.6 to 0.55?
But isn't that good?
That's my point. Is that everybody's belly aching about interest rates going down, but where you make the most money isn't in your savings account. Where you make the most money is going to be in your equities, or it's going to be in the fact that you save a ton of money on your debt products. You know, if you had $100,000 in your savings account, and at the beginning of this year, you're getting 2% a year, right? It's $2,000. And now you get 0.5. Now you make $500. So you're ticked off. You're like, hey, I lost $1,500. But if you refinanced your house for a 15-year term instead of the 25 that was left on your 30-year mortgage, you just save $40,000 on interest. That's a trade you should take every day. So anyway, interest rate 0. It's a good thing. Go get your 15%, 2.5% mortgage and be happy.
The only piece of what you said that I disagree with is that you don't like the fact that our listeners were upset about that. And here's the deal. If we didn't live in a debtor society, I think we have very cool listeners who really don't have a lot of debt. And I think that they're looking to get more on their savings then. If we lived in a place where people had responsible amounts of debt and had savings the way that they should, we should all be upset about the fact that savings account rates are low. You know, remember, it was just a couple of years ago that in their quarterly earnings call, Bank of America admitted on the call, remember this, that they didn't raise rates on CDs because nobody asked for it. Nobody really cared. But the second that we lower interest rates on everything from credit cards to car loans to personal loans to mortgages, everybody goes a sweet hurrah. You know why? Because we're a nation of people with debt up to our eyeballs. So I'm going to be
even the backside of that, though. You said the responsible debtors still made more money so you've already got a 15-year mortgage and you're aggressively paying it off and it's well within your budget. That would be a responsible person, right? So you still save more money by refinancing the debt than you're losing by not having the cash.
That is a good thing. The thing that drives me crazy, which is the offshoot of what you're talking about, is when somebody goes, yeah, I'm hacking my savings account so that I can get away from the 0.5 and maybe find a 0.65. Do that math on $10,000.
Right.
I mean, even if you've got a nice size cash reserve, that's no money.
Oh, you're right. And you should look every so often, but I don't think it's a project that you want to take every month. And the fact is with interest rates low, that tends to mean it's low inflation. It tends to mean that, you know, stocks are going to be a better bet than fixed income. So I think it's a good thing. Doesn't bother me.
Do you think that the Fed has said that they're going to keep rates the same for 3 years? Do you think that's really going to happen?
No, I don't, because there's a new Federal Reserve chairman coming in a month.
I just think that the whole reason for that was to calm markets down, but I don't believe that for a second either.
Yeah, the thing is, if that's your ammunition, if that's what the Federal Reserve has decided is the ammunition, we just go to zero every time there's some sort of calamity, then you need to be able to reload the cannon. So you have to get it back up to some number that you can then drop to like fire your shot, so to speak. So anyways, What's your number 5?
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't have that on my top 5, and that's a great one. So nice work, man. Good stuff. My number 5 is only number 5 because it was huge in society, and maybe big for our nation, but it was not big when it came to your money, which was the election was my number 5 event. And the reason is we saw all kinds of articles, we read all kinds of numbers, and we saw all kinds of people moving their money around because of the election. And yet every study I've ever seen about the election shows that it doesn't matter. And that these preconceived ideas that you have about what's better for you and what's worse for you don't really come true the way that people think it does. And even if it does, it does to a lower degree than you're paying attention. I think people, when it came to their money, just when it came to their long-term money moves, paid way more attention and made far more money moves than they should have this election cycle, as always.
Yeah. How about I'm just going to wait till things settle down and then I'll get back in. And no joke, November was the best November in 33 years.
And it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
I mean, with Donald Trump coming in 4 years ago, same stuff. Biden comes in now, same stuff. Yep. It's not a political statement to say, stop paying attention to this crap. Stop it.
Yep. Well said.
Number 4.
You want me to go first? You want to take turns here?
Sure. That sounds like a good trade.
My number 4, and I know that Paula and Len brought this up, but it certainly made my list, which is, and we've even had more data, and that's what I'm going to point to here since we recorded the episode with Paula and Len from last Friday with their top 3s, the deaths that happened this year. And obviously we are sad when we lose people like Kobe Bryant, Chadwick Boseman, Eddie Van Halen, Tony Hsieh. And Tony Hsieh actually from Zappos is the one I want to point to, because Tony Hsieh, according to reports coming in just this last week, left just a mess.
Post-it notes.
Yeah, people have no idea what he's invested in. He doesn't have one place where all of his investments are even stored. Not that he didn't do any estate planning. He doesn't even have any organization about where his stuff is. And the bad news is because of that, with his wealth, only bad things can happen, OG.
Yeah. My number 4 is the exact same as yours, actually.
Estate planning.
Yep, exact same. In fact, I said Kobe, Hsieh, Boseman, Van Halen. We all reference the people. I got Ginsburg in there too, but I'm assuming that she had an estate plan. But the lesson is, not the day nor the hour, right? So you can't say, well, I'll just handle that insurance thing later. I'll take care of that estate plan down the line. Listen, I always try to clean my office before the end of the year, so I'm in the middle of that. And our estate plan binder is sitting on the shelf here. I hate opening that thing. Like I was just putting papers in there, like some stuff that we had taken out. And I'm just like, oh God, I don't even want to think about this. But I'm happy that it's done so I don't have to think about it. Don't put this off, because you do not want your spouse or significant other, your brother or your kids to be like rummaging through your stuff, trying to figure out where everything is or what everything is. I mean, I remember a client one time brought in at least weekly something new associated with an estate that she was settling. Like, hey, I found this stock certificate was in a drawer. I don't know. It says 1974 on it. Is this good? And it's like, I don't know. Now we got to, there's just so much things that you have to do with that information now. She was getting bank statements 6 months after he passed away because he would take cash on vacation to open a bank account, so he would just have a place for banks, And so he had bank accounts across the entire country with like 20 or 30,000 in them. And it's like, now she's got to figure out how to deal with the credit union in Boise, Idaho. You know what I mean? It's just, don't do that to the surviving people. Make it simple for them. You know where everything is. Take a second, write it all down, give them the password, and be done with it.
Number 3.
You want to take this one?
Sure. My number 3 one is all of the crisis that's going on with food and the huge problem that we have in the United States and probably elsewhere with, for lack of a better term, over the last year and a half or year, the bread lines issue. We see longer lines for people to get food than we see for people trying to get COVID tests or vaccines or whatever. That's ridiculous, considering the wealth of our nation. And I think that for me, the lesson on this is that you have to have your oxygen mask on first, before you can help other people. You can't be in a position of chaos and pulling your hair out and barely hanging on yourself and then be able to help somebody else. If you've ever tried to get in a canoe after it tipped over when you're going canoeing and maybe you had 25 beers,
hypothetically,
and the other person is trying to get in the canoe, hypothetically, and the other guy's trying to get in the canoe at the same time, it's impossible, right? You can't do it. You need somebody in there to help you get back in. And if you want to be that person that helps, you have to have your stuff squared away. You know what I mean? You can't be dinking around trying to deal with your own chaos and then help other people. So, if you want to help other people, if that's something that you want to do, you got to take care of you. And I don't mean you got to be rich. I'm just saying you need to be thoughtful and planned out in what's going on in your world. And when you have the opportunity to help other people, if you needed an excuse, you got one this year.
On our Instagram story last week, I had a little mini rant after a couple of our interviews that are going to be coming up here on the show, a couple of people that I interviewed. And what I've noticed is that some of the most successful people that I've met and we've had the good fortune to interview, you see these things that are recurring ideas. And 2 recurring ideas are exactly what you're talking about. Number 1, these people are prepared, and they're people who take a much bigger view than just the me view. But then the second thing is they are givers, man. They are absolutely 100% givers. You and I remember meeting David Bach for the first time in Dallas. Remember, every single person that came up to him, he would immediately take out his phone and say, "Hey, do you mind if I take a picture of us and I put it on my Instagram account?" And people are like, you're David Bach. What are you talking about? Clark Howard, super giving people. I found that it's those middle people that their career's going okay, but not wonderful, where they're very takey. And when I'm in a financial forum and I kind of get frustrated, it's when I see these people who are just me. How do I get more for me? What do I do for me? I just need more for me. Can I get more for me? How do I get that? And I know that's a side shoot off of what you're talking about, OG, but I think that thinking about giving, especially in a year like this.
If you needed a reason.
Yeah. It's funny because my number 3 is also, by the way, an offshoot of yours. Mine was the stimulus and watching what happened with the stimulus money when the stimulus came out. And it's funny because
the $1,199 TV at Costco deal.
Yeah. Yeah. You're looking at me and laughing because you and I know it wasn't stimulus. And somebody said that during our Restacking Your Benjamins event. They're like, let's be clear. That's not stimulus. It's just keeping us afloat, right? It's not going to stimulate anything. It is going to duct tape. But I think that we learned a few things. I think we learned from the stimulus, whether it's the PPP for businesses or the stimulus checks, that having those outlets to go to is super important. As an example, when it comes to the PPP that businesses turned out for, I mean, you and I learned this, those relationships that you have come in, they're so important to have relationships with the right people at different times during your career and different times during your life. And in this case, if you remember, it was a relationship with your banker, right? People that had a relationship with their banker in that first round of stimulus were going to get it. And I remember a lot of people thinking, man, I'm not going to get anything because I don't have a relationship with a banker. I'm not sure where I'm going to turn. I mean, John Hope Bryant went as far as to call it racist. And I don't know about that, but I do know that it at least showed us all what rich people already know. And we saw this in Dr. Tom Stanley's book, which is that having people in your corner that can help you get from point A to wherever you want to go, so absolutely important. And I think that was a big takeaway. And when it came to the PPP, we didn't have that. Like a lot of people didn't have it.
Number 2.
All right. My number 2, believe it or not, my number 2, I should not be laughing, but Robinhood got hacked. And Robinhood lost a bunch of data on a lot of the people that invested through Robinhood after Robinhood had already had like 6 scandals. I mean, I'm exaggerating. I think they had 4, maybe 5 scandals before that, but they had their fair share, I think. And when Robinhood got hacked, then they tried to hide it, right? Hey, it wasn't our problem. We didn't have it. It turns out it was their problem. And they did try to hide it. And the question I gave people all year in 2020 that I never thought I'd be giving people all year is, why are you still using this company? Why? How many times is this company going to burn you? But even more than that, let's make it a wider thing for more people, which is hackers in the news again, OG. Keeping your data safe that you need safe, super important. Having a password manager, having your data together. I mean, it's kind of an offshoot of what we talked about with the estate planning stuff, right? But having your personal data intact and knowing where it is and knowing what you're putting out there in the universe proved to be important again through Robinhood and other places.
Yeah. And recognizing the difference, I think that you said this to me, which I thought was really interesting. You said that you've made the determination that there's some things that you want to be really secure about, and then other things you really don't care about.
Right.
Like, God forbid somebody gets into my Netflix account and watches The Office.
I have the most basic Netflix password.
Yeah.
Because I get so sick of changing it.
Right. Joe's Netflix,
right.
In case you're wondering.
Yeah. Agreed. Decide what's important to keep. What's your number 2?
Be ultra secure on that. I like that. I'm going to go with the big giant market crash.
Oh man, that didn't make mine, and it should have. That's a great one.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a laydown, frankly, but I was trying to recreate that in my mind. You know, how January started, it was pretty flat. It had gone up a little bit. February was kind of trending up again. And remember, we were on the heels of a pretty good 2019 after a really crappy 2018. So 2018 ended the fourth quarter with a pretty big pullback. And then 19 was really good. And then we would go kind of matriculating into 2020, and you start hearing the news about the COVID thing and, you know, whether or not it was serious or not serious and that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden you started seeing these really big swings in the stock market. And before you could even realize what was going on, I think you were down 10%. And then a couple more days later, boom, boom, boom. Now you're down 20. A few days after that, it's down 30. You know, and I don't remember what the exact bottom was in terms of top to bottom of the S&P, but I do know it was March the 23rd, and we're definitely long-term investors, and we definitely think about having your money in the right buckets along the way. So if that concerned you, that meant that your money wasn't tied to your goal correctly. You know, your investment strategy wasn't tied to your goal. Now, it's not super fun to watch a third of your investment portfolio evaporate in 17 trading days or whatever it was, but it should have allowed a little bit of calming influence to say, okay, this money is to be used in 35 years from now. It sucks that it went down, but, you know, so be it. But I think the lesson there was for everybody who talks the huge game of, I'll just wait until, or the next time the market does the, you know, I don't think that really happened. I don't think people were really, you know, backing the proverbial truck up on March 23rd. I know you hate that phrase as much as I hate the airplane ones. And again, this probably doesn't apply to the people that listen to our show, because generally people are trying to do better financially and also are already doing well financially. But the aggregate data, and I know there's all these stories like Vanguard investors didn't do it or BlackRock investors didn't do it. Well, somebody did, because the data clearly shows that
there were a lot of people moving.
People poured money out of, dumped money out of, I don't know what analogy to use, just zeroed out their equity accounts and put it into fixed income and into cash. Now, the problem with that trade happened to be that when interest rates went down very quickly in a relatively short period of time, people were actually rewarded for their fixed income trade, which you know doesn't really benefit you in the long run, but it didn't sting as badly. But my lesson on all of this isn't stay the course and all that sort of stuff. Again, this goes back to what I said before. You have to be in a position to take strategic opportunities when they exist. You know, we talk about being sure of your career path or investing in yourself and making sure that opportunity favors the prepared, right? That whole thing. And the opportunity existed. You had the chance in the middle of March to buy stocks at 2017 or 2016 prices. And on aggregate, people didn't do that. And I just kind of wonder why.
Well, I can tell you why, because every financial article people read said this is the beginning of the apocalypse. Remember? We've been hearing over and over and over about the long run. In fact, we reported on that. Here's another one saying that it's the end. Here's another one saying it's the end. And the end never came. And people kept saying it can't go up forever. It can't go up forever. Which, by the way,
and I understand that. So then if that's your investing thesis and then the market goes down a third in 17 days, it seems as though that's a pretty opportunistic time to invest your capital. And people who did are really excited about that. But again, this goes back to my number 3. You couldn't have done anything if you weren't prepared yourself. Right. You have to game plan this in advance. You have to think about, hey, my investment statement says 100,000. If in a month from now it says 70K, what am I going to really do? And think about having that plan on the shelf long in advance. And maybe you do say, and then I'm going to, lower my cash reserve so I can invest more money, or I'm going to do that. Your brain needs to know the plan in advance. If you can do it in advance, you'll be able to do it when it's game time.
On that note, I was happy to see as I was going through blogs, and I wish I had kept the name of the blogger, but a financial blogger put their investment policy statement on their about page. This is my investment policy statement, and made it very public. And I thought that was, good accountability for them. But also I know 90% of the people reading the blog were like, what the hell is this? What's this investment policy statement? Where every professional, or a good professional anyway, has an investment policy statement that they manage money according to, which, may or may not include these huge drops. So, have the plan ahead of time, to your point, and then just look down at the sheet of paper and go, oh, did this trip the trigger? Should I finally get in? Is this the time?
Number 1.
All right. It's that time. We got to go back to the drum roll. You want to do the drum roll?
I do not want to do the drum roll. Bonus points for your Stacking Benjamins bingo card if you know what the hell he's talking
Here's
about.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to when you used to do the drum roll. I'm going to get the snippet and I'm going to add it to the thing.
Steve probably has it.
Yeah, so then we'll have this. And we'll have this. And but then we'll also have the OG drum roll. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be pretty freaking embarrassing.
Oh, you'd be so pissed. You would not be excited about that. All right. You want to go first? You want me to go first with our big number 1?
I think it's my turn. My number 1 was obviously COVID, and more specifically, just the whole concept of the black swan event. And you hear about this, you hear this stupid phrase all the time that, it's a black swan event. And, and if you think about it, it's basically what they're saying is how many black swans are there in the universe? Who knows? But you don't see them very often. But when you see a black swan event every year or two, they cease being black swan events, right? Then it's just events. So this is obviously a different one. A health crisis across the entire globe is really unheard of, hasn't happened in a long time. And it exposed, I think, a lot of failings that we have and the traps that we have as very, very, very comfortable middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, generally middle of the road type people. And when stuff got kind of fouled up in our world, the supply chain, for example, what did people do? They started buying toilet paper. That was the solution to the panic. I want to buy toilet paper. And what that tells me, and this is kind of the theme, I think, for all of these for me, is that you can't predict every event. You can't predict the next stock market to go up or down or sideways, which stock it's going to be. If Tesla's is going to go to 1,000 or to $1 first, who knows? You don't know what the next election cycle is going to look like, the tax code, the politicians in your neighborhood, the school board. You don't know what the tuition's going to be at the college that you want your kids to go to. And you sure as hell don't know when all of a sudden a virus is going to show up and make you all work from home all of a sudden. But the best you can do in that circumstance, I think, is to have thought about what happens if. You can do the what happens if thing as it relates to your estate planning, and your insurance planning for life insurance. But what happens if, I don't know, a big windstorm comes through your farm and you live in Iowa and there's 120 mile an hour winds and it tears all your corn up? You know, you probably have insurance for that. You know what I mean? If you're thinking about it, if you're not a farmer and that doesn't cross your mind, you got to kind of game plan that a little bit. What happens if we can't go to the grocery store for a little while? We saw companies that took advantage of this like crazy. DoorDash, right? We were talking about that on Monday. How many times do you go to DoorDash? Only twice a day. Some companies did really well and some companies didn't. And so if you have the opportunity to just sit and think, and I don't mean to be like Debbie Downer about any of this stuff, but your brain doesn't know the difference between projection and reality. If you've thought about this and you said, okay, here's what we do if, you know, here's a real simple one. When was the last time you told your kids how to get out of the house if there's a house fire? Remember doing that when you were a kid, Joe, in September? It was always like fire.
I was just about to bring that up. The last 2 years, we've had Steve, the engineer from UL, on talking about house fires, you know? Yeah. And hopefully we've had a fair number of families take his advice and walk through that plan together.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that your brain doesn't know that it hasn't happened. And if you train it to already think about that stuff, you've got a better chance of surviving, whether it's something like COVID or you know, or house fire or something silly like that. So
do you remember all the planning that we did as financial planners back after 9/11? Like, we did a ton of planning because all of a sudden every firm on earth realized that they were vulnerable from 57,000 different ways. And we had to all think about what happens if there's a tornado, what happens if there's a, you know, if we're in a hurricane area, what happens if there's an earthquake, like what happens in all these different scenarios. And it was funny being in Detroit, the one that, you know, might happen to us was a tornado, but we still had to have all these different plans. What happened if I die right away? And that was for our business. And then I started thinking about how many people have this at home.
Yeah. And I think it goes beyond just the financial plans. I think you have to think about all of the other stuff. I mean, go watch a disaster movie. Don't do any of the stuff that's in a disaster movie. That's basically make a list of all the stuff that happens in Armageddon or something. You know, don't do any of that stuff. But in all seriousness, I think that the people who thought about this stuff, you know, this is a Marine Corps thing, a military thing, right? Just adapt and overcome. We all didn't decide to work from home on March 6th, but it was decided for us that we were all working from home on March 6th. And some people flourished and some people struggled. Hopefully more people are good with it now, but I'd encourage you just to do planning. It's an ongoing activity. This is what we tell everybody from our clients. And we talk about this on the podcast all the time. It's not just money. It's not just insurance. It's not just estate planning. It's planning. It's a verb. It's an ongoing activity. And if you treat it as such, then you've got a much better chance of getting through whatever the next 5 items of 2021 are going to be.
And it doesn't have to be a slog. I mean, this particular piece might be a slog, but planning, as you know, Cheryl and I have this weekly meeting. We really enjoy it. We do it with pancakes or wine. And
sometimes wine and pancakes.
Does not have to be either or, my friend. And we keep it short. We keep it fun. And there's only a few things on the agenda. And then when we get to these big things like now, or, you know, the 9/11 event, or any of these big things that you think couldn't happen, I feel so much prepared. This was my number one as well, obviously. I think this is a year where it's kind of a little anticlimactic list. We could have probably got number one out of the way right away. But I think it is a good place to end. And another podcast that I would have people listen to was Nick Kokonis, the co-owner of Alinea, one of the top restaurants in the nation in Chicago, was on Tim Ferriss's show twice. And we'll point in our show notes to the second time he was on. Because, if you want to see Black Swan planning done very well, it's what Nick Kokonis did with his restaurant. Obviously, this is a high-end restaurant, one of the top restaurants for foodies in the United States. They don't charge a small amount of money. Go look at what they charge to eat there. Watch the Netflix special with Grant Atchett, the chef. It's a fantastic show about how this guy nearly died and became a better chef in the process. But anyway, Nick, along late January, starts hearing about this flu coming around. And in early February, it becomes evident that things are changing. You remember hearing about this, that it's kind of contained in the US, but it's really hitting Asia hard now. and China's having a heck of a time, and we're all kind of watching and wondering if it's going to come here or not. And Nick's first reaction was, he said, okay, there is no event that can bring down the U.S. restaurant industry completely. There isn't one. And then on his way home that night, I believe, if I got the story right, he said to himself, oh my God, what if this brings down the entire restaurant industry? Like, what if the thing that I think could never happen actually happens? And so then he went immediately to his HR team and said, tell me all about unemployment and how unemployment works. And everybody looked at him like he was from the moon. And this is, by the way, well over a month before anything really happened. He's immediately thinking about the Black Swan event and what could happen if that happened here. And I think that's actually a proactive way to watch the news. You know, if things aren't happening, if something's happening to somebody else, just for a second, put yourself in that position and go, what if this happened to me? What if that thing that I don't think could happen does happen? Putting your mask on first. Oh, gee, I like that analogy. Those are our top 5 things you should have learned from 2020. Thanks for putting those together, man.
Anything for you, Joe.
It was a good time. We will list as many links as we can to help with all of those. OG's 5 and my 5, roughly, I think here about 8 between the two of us on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com.
Hey, trivia fans, I'm your favorite podcast host, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. And now that we've heard Joe and OG's lessons for 2020, I think it's time to tell you what I'm thankful for in 2020. First, I'm thankful that Joe and OG don't sing very often. They sure do have voices for podcasts, not Sinatra or OG with his Bieber impersonations. Second, I'm thankful that Sizzler went bankrupt, so Todd lost his job as assistant manager. Todd. Is that too mean, maybe, for the holidays? Maybe just a little bit, but that Todd guy really gets under my skin. But it's good news. Todd is now assistant manager at a local pet store. Kind of feel bad for those pets, though. Okay, fine, I'll keep it positive. Before I tell you what I am most thankful for, let's get you today's trivia question. Today is not only Christmas Eve, it's also a big Festivus holiday. So today's question about another Hallmark money grab holiday is this. Where did the holiday Festivus originate? I'll be back with your answer faster than you can go create your own holiday.
Well, you might recall MetPro founder Angelo Poli being on the show. By the way, he's coming back in January to help us in the new year with our health and wellness. But he's been on several times talking about how important proper nutrition is, really both for your health, but also for your bottom line, right? You can't do a great job at work if you don't feel your best. And executives know that, pro athletes know that, and those high-performing people are who MetPro work with. Angelo is the founder of the company I use that we're talking about called MetPro. I use their concierge coaching service, and it's kept me accountable. My coach, Jessie, is a pain in the best way possible. I love her. She's incredibly positive, but she's taught me so much about food. So I went from 205 down to 190 just before the start of the holiday season. And then I held there. And Angela, if you remember last year, said that people gain somewhere between 8 and 12 pounds usually during the holidays. And I held. And then this last year, for those of you that haven't been following Joe's exploits as I went across the United States during COVID times, I've been all over and had to make some tough food choices. And I've also still held my weight all year. And I felt great all year. And that's because of MetPro. 2021, going back on the attack. And frankly, even playing defense this year was so hard because I was often in a restaurant or in a less than ideal place. And Jesse and the MetPro team helped me. And not just me, they've helped thousands of individuals transform their bodies by hacking their metabolism. No fad diets, just get what's going on with your body and with the fuel that you feed it. Recently, by the way, they've launched a new tool that allows you to experience the same science and tailored strategy that their experts use. It's not a food logging tool or workout app. It allows you, the MetPro app allows you to start tracking, analyzing, and learning what your metabolism responds to best so that you can go on the attack. So if you're looking for a high-touch experience working with a metabolic expert, or if you want access to the tools that industry-leading coaches use, either way, visit metpro.co/SB. Now it's CO, not .com. Metpro.co. You can take their assessment, you can speak with their team and learn which option is best for you. And you're also going to get up to 1 month free when you sign up. Head to metpro.co/SB to take advantage of that opportunity. Well, if you pay your credit cards off in full every month, you want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year automatically with no limit on how much you can earn. How amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing because of all the places Discover's accepted, 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Hey, Stackers, it's me, Doug. Joe asked me to say a couple of heartfelt words of thanks to all of you, and he just wanted me to make sure that I didn't sound snarky at all. Yeah, no, don't worry about it, Joe. No offense taken. As though I can't be heartfelt. I mean, come on. If you're listening right now, you are absolutely making my day, and I really mean that honestly, because it's not everybody who tunes in to the best parts of the show. There's 3 segments on this show that are the real entertainment value, and the rest of the stuff, you're learning stuff, I suppose. But the fact that you're actually listening now to the funny parts of the show just make me feel great. So thanks so much for the few of you who actually don't hit the fast forward button when I come on, and you actually pay attention. That says a lot about you. Not only are you tuning in to Stacking Benjamins because you're a person who's focused on your own personal growth and improving your situation in life, but it also means that you know how to be balanced and have a little fun while you're on this tough ride we're all on. So thanks so much for listening to the best parts of the show, and we'll get back to the funny parts in here in a second. See, I told you I could do it without being snarky, Joe. God, you're a jerk sometimes. Hey, Stackers, I'm Neighbor Doug. Let's get off the sentimental train and roll into trivia, shall we? Today's question was all about these crazy money-making holidays, and today's a big one. So here's the question. Where did the holiday Festivus, which is today, originate? While Festivus was made popular by the Seinfeld episode called The Strike, written by Seinfeld writer Dan O'Keefe, O'Keefe actually based the Seinfeld story on a Festivus holiday that his own father invented back in the 60s and 70s. How great is that? All right, I gotta go get a tissue. Something's caught in my eye, or I don't know. Who's cutting onions?
I feel like at the end of a trivia segment like that, Doug should say something like, and now you know the rest of the story.
TM.
Do you have to be so old to get that?
You have to say TM after it.
Yeah. But how old do you have to be to even get that reference?
I don't know.
Stop looking at me. I don't know. Okay? I don't know. Hey, let's throw out the Haven Lifeline and tackle some of life's most important questions one more time this year, OG. We're going to give one lucky listener one last shot to get their question answered in 2020. Before we begin some fun episodes, we'll tell you about those at the end of the show, but some fun episodes to end out the year. A lot of stuff still coming up on Stacking Benjamins, but a lot of stuff still coming up on Stacking Benjamins. But this is the last Haven Lifeline for this year. Our friends at Haven Life Insurance Agency, they put what you value first.
Christmas cookies, dude. Eggnog.
Oh,
The whole 9 yards.
I flippin' love eggnog.
Do you have it with or without the...
Oh, no. It's got to go with.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, that's just disgusting.
It's just milk and eggs.
It's
But
like
once you put brandy in it or whatever the hell goes, I think it's brandy, right?
just like drinking heavy whipping cream. Otherwise, what do you
Egg whites, delicious.
Joe, do you know you're drinking whipping cream? No, but there's brandy in it. Oh, okay. That's cool. It's your loved ones and your time, and hopefully you're going to spend a lot of time with your loved ones coming up. It's why they made buying quality term life insurance actually simple, so you can spend less time buying insurance, more time with your loved ones. Head to stackingbenjamins.com/Haven Life now for a quote. Their application is simple. It's online. You'll get an instant coverage decision. What a great gift. It made our top 5 of the year. Get this stuff done. stackingbenjamins.com/Haven Life. And today, well, we got this call. This is Nick from Alaska calling in. Hey, Nick.
Hello, Joe and OG. This is Santa, Nick, calling from the North Alaska. I have to say, I travel around the world once a year and love catching up on the show. It's a jolly good time, even though I don't learn a thing. Here's my question. I've got terrible budget problems. Several years ago, I told the missus that I'd give presents to a bunch of kids I don't know. Pay it forward, she said. You'll become a legend. That sort of thing. Well, I have to say it's gotten out of hand. Every stinking year I load up my my pickup with all of these toys. It used to be trucks, trains, and Barbies. But now they want iPads, Xboxes, and $1,000 phones. I mean, I give these ankle biters everything they ask for, and they always just come back asking for more. I know what you're going to say, OG, and before you say it, I've already tried to cut my costs. We had the great idea of stuffing things in socks to limit the amounts, but before you know it, that just became an add-on. And now, these rascals all expect a sock full of junk and their silly presents. Oh, greedy little. And all for what? All I get in return is a few Christmas cookies, and now they're all gluten-free. Where's the fun in that? Between us, I've even gone so far as to hire a bunch of undocumented workers. They're out in my workshop behind the house, making knockoff purses and jewelry as we speak. I wouldn't be surprised if the feds knock on my door tomorrow and shut us down. And if that weren't a big enough problem, we use deer in our delivery system. And the animal rights people are breathing down my neck. I really, truly don't know what to do anymore. So here's what I need to know. How do I cut when there's nothing left to trim? What would you do if you were me? Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for the question, Nick. And what a difficult situation he's in, OG. What advice would you give to Nick?
Kind of sounds like a lot of business owners this year. A lot of ups and downs of cash flow and wants to do the right thing, but still has to face the reality, right? Of what's going on. I mean, I think that when it comes to your expense management, it's just that. I mean, you have to look through every single solitary thing on the budget and decide, is there an opportunity? One of the things that I've heard that works really well, especially if it's a large organization, it sounds like Nick's got a pretty big firm. One of the things that you could do is incentivize cost savings. So maybe say, hey, if you find something that is fixable or something that we can save some money on, I'll split the difference with you. You save me a few $1,000 in overhead and I'll give you a little bonus of the difference, and so everybody's kind of a winner and kind of that constant never ending improvement thing. But I think the biggest thing, and we just keep coming back to this on the show time and time again, is you can only cut so much. Eventually you've got to work on the top line stuff. And it might be time for Nick to move on to something. If there's some other way to create product and deliver it, something that has a little higher margin like candy or something, maybe you can go into the candy delivery business. There's different times of the year that would be helpful. Like plastic things, like I'm thinking like You can make like eggs or something and put candy in them. There's all sorts of different. It's just a ballpark idea, but
different ideas. Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And also, if he's well known by these different people around the world that he talks to, the influencer money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking if he doesn't have a TikTok account right now, he's probably missing
likenesses
out.
And that sort of thing.
Yes.
Kind of work on the brand.
Yeah. Needs an agent, maybe an agent. Yeah. Check that out. Thanks for the question, Nick. You got a question today like Nick does. I'll tell you what, we have Gertrude on it. She's going to send Nick in Alaska a t-shirt for being brave enough to call in. If you've got a question for us in 2021, head to stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail and just do that from your phone or any device you have with a microphone and ask your question. And just like Nick, we'll help you solve your issue. That's going to do it for today, OG, and for us, almost for the year. Let's tell everybody what's coming up, shall we?
Let's.
To put it mildly, 2020 was a quirky year.
I like quirky. I like that.
Quirky might not even be the right name.
I like that.
But to keep it positive, like Mom says, we'll call it quirky. And you and I and the team, we sat down and we said, you know what? We have had some very quirky guests, some very quirky episodes on the nearly 9 years now that we've been podcasting. And so last year we did a countdown for the turn of the decade on what we should have learned. This year we thought we would do a countdown the last 7 days, starting Friday, starting Christmas Day. We're going to kick off 7 days of what are 7 of the quirkiest guests and quirkiest episodes we've had. And that's going to be a fun countdown.
Bingo.
So join us for that, the last week of the year.
It's hard to believe, huh?
It is hard. I can't believe we're saying that. So wild. Last but not least, if you have a financial planning question and you want to get on the waiting list before other people do, because you need better financial planning help in your corner, the waiting list is open for OG's firm. Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG to get on that list. All right. He's OG. I'm Joe. Doug, take it from here, man. What should we have learned today?
So what should we have learned today? First, take a lesson from Ed Slott. End of the year tax moves are always important, but this year is a little more importanter to pay attention to giving to those Roth IRAs. Second, take a lesson from Joe and OG. Even in horrible years like 2020, there are still ample lessons for all of us. But the big takeaway? Seriously, stackers, from the whole team, this is all about you. Take this as our sincere thanks. I just love you guys so much. I'm sorry, Joe. I couldn't keep it in anymore. They're amazing. They're so giving. All the love. Oh, shut up, OG. Stop making fun of me. A special thanks to Ed Slott for joining us today to discuss our end-of-the-year money moves. If you want more information about Ed and tax strategies you should think about, check out IRAhelp.com. This show is created by Joe Saul-Sehy, produced by Taylor Stevens, and engineered by the amazing Steve Stewart. Online, visit us on Twitter at SBenjaminsCast or on our Facebook page. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and I'm pretty much the guy in charge of everything around here. Trust me, this well-oiled machine didn't get like this all by itself. SB Podcasts may receive payment on the show from sponsors and guests in the form of books, giveaway items, discounts, or other remunerations. That's a big word. There's no way you take advice from these dorks, but like Joe's mom always says, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only, and before making any financial decisions, consult with a real financial advisor.
You did it! Congratulations! World's best cup of coffee. Great job, everybody. It's great to meet you. Hi.
I feel like there's some pressure for us to have like this epic after show because it's the last show of the year. And you and I, OG, are sitting here and you had a great idea. You know, Austin Kleon says steal like an artist, right? And you thought we should maybe do the Nick Offerman style after show?
Yeah, we just sit quietly and drink scotch for 2 hours and don't say a word.
You just hear us get up and get more.
Yep.
Nick Offerman, by the way, Nick and his spouse, Megan, they have a podcast that supposedly just ended its first season. They're in bed. It's an Earwolf podcast called In Bed with Nick and Megan. And they just invite people over and they lay in bed with these people and talk. That's the setup anyway. I don't know if they're truly in bed, but it clearly never felt like anybody was prepared. It was just like, okay, I'll set up some microphones because people are buying this crap. The first time I've heard anything Nick Offerman has done and went, yeah, that's really stupid. I mean, I'm sure like everybody, he's done some dumb stuff, but In Bed with Nick and Megan, I noticed back in September, it said that they were ending season 1. I don't know that there will ever be a season 2.
That's too bad because he's pretty funny.
He is very funny. I never got it. I'll tell you what my dad really likes are these Lifetime Christmas movies. If I were visiting with the parents this year, instead of doing the socially distanced thing, we'd have to sit and watch these things with them. And as you know, they're all the same, but it's funny. This year I found myself missing them, like truly missing these dumb, absolutely dumb movies. Going, you know what? I like sitting, knowing where this thing's headed. So we don't have the Hallmark channel. You have to pay extra for it. And I already have too many stations, don't you?
Yeah, I only watch ESPN. So any station other than ESPN is a waste.
No, but do you have Hulu?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have everything. I pay for everything. I have
that's what I'm saying.
I have the whole enchilada package on DirecTV and Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and blah, 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 blah.
So you do have the Hallmark channel too then?
Lucky me. Yeah.
Well, Netflix is trying to take over that spot. So the other day, Cheryl and I said, you know what? We have no idea if this is going to be any good or bad. So this is my review of a Netflix Hallmark style movie called Midnight at the Magnolia.
You know, for two people that make a living giving relationship advice, we're sure not very good at relationships. What could possibly be funny right now?
A fan just tweeted she thinks you and I should be together, and I got like 2,000 likes.
Yeah, I know. They've wanted us to be together ever since we started.
That's it.
What's it?
What if, on New Year's Eve, you and I surprise the fans by telling them that we are together?
What? Jack, no.
Think about it. The fans will go wild. It'd be front page news. We get crazy ratings, and the execs would see how many people care about our show. It's a no-brainer.
This is insane.
You mean genius?
You're actually serious about this, aren't you?
Satellite radio, Maggie.
Okay, but what happens when they find out it's a lie?
They never need to know. After we go national, we'll let it slip that we casually decided to remain friends.
No, Jack, this is a bad idea.
Maggie.
Well, Maggie and Jack, which are the perfect names for two radio show hosts on a station in Chicago. And they every morning give relationship advice, and they have great chemistry together, but they are super bad at relationships in both. In fact, they were going to do a show where they, on New Year's Eve, invite their significant others to meet their parents. And that was going to be the big deal. And both their significant others, OG, heard that news on the radio show, them talking about it, about how they weren't sure they wanted to do that or not. And they both got dumped on the same day.
Nice.
So now, as you heard in that clip, Jack, of course, has the crazy idea, let's pretend that we're getting together, because everybody thinks we should be together, except, of course, the two of them. And believe it or not, if that's unfold over the next hour and a half, that may be a little bit like a Hallmark movie. I don't think I need to tell you anything more about what happens at Big Night at the Magnolia on New Year's. But, you know, that actually happens. And I have to tell you, the other day, I did a review of Queen's Gambit, which is a show that was largely lauded, and I kind of gave it a little middling, maybe a little bit thumbs down. This movie very well may be one of the dumbest movies of all time, and I'm going to give it a big fat thumb up. If you're looking for one of these dumb Christmas movies. The plot moves along, characters are completely unbelievable, but exactly what you like when you're in that mood, and that's exactly what you want to have. It is perfect. Now, of the two, I will tell you, Queen's Gambit by far is the better thing to watch. By far. But Midnight at Magnolia, for the dumb holiday stuff, if you and your family are looking for the dumb holiday movie, there it is on Netflix. And OG's writing that down. I can see he's like, man, I'm going to watch this.
Yeah. Yep. Writing it down.
This sounds exactly like it's in your wheelhouse. I'll tell you something else I'm watching right now. I'm watching The Right Stuff on Disney Plus, which is the TV version of the Tom Wolfe novel about the Mercury program and the astronauts behind the Mercury program.
You did say that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll review that in the new year. I'm in episode 2. I'm also finishing The Mandalorian, season 2.
Okay.
I have to watch season 4, The Crown?
Haven't got that yet. Yep, same.
Have not watched that. I also have the latest season of Peaky Blinders. It's now over a year old, maybe a year and a half old. And I'm halfway through the first season, and it's been so intense of Killing Eve. The woman who's the MI6 operative who's being hunted by an assassin. So
I did it took me all from the summer, maybe early fall till now, but I just finished Succession, the first 2 seasons. And it is not a PG rated show. It is vulgar and grotesque. But if mom wants to know about it, Doug told me I had to watch it. So it's Doug's fault.
But did you like it?
Yeah. So it's loosely based on this idea of the Murdoch family, and the whole right-wing news channel type stuff. That's kind of like the storyline, and all of the chaos and poison that whole family has with everything. But they're like gazillionaires, and there's a lot of stuff that happens that for us mere mortals, I think we'd all have a hard time wrapping our head around. There's a part where one of the kids is kind of written off out of the will, so to speak, right? Well, you're out of the will. But out of the will doesn't mean he's broke and living in he only has like 800 million. But meanwhile, he's still super ticked off at his dad. For all of us, we'd be like, dude, whatever. Like, I got 800 million, I'm out. Like we wouldn't
good
care.
Good seeing you, Dad.
Yeah. If you want to be like that, Dad, I'm good. I'll make my own news channel or live on an island somewhere or do whatever. But so a lot of it seems relatively hard to swallow, from a believability standpoint, because for us people that don't have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, you're like, dude, seriously, you wouldn't take 2 billion and walk away? What kind of, but then again, you didn't start and run a company either with your name on the door. So, there's that. Anywho, it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to go for it, it's on HBO.
What are you going to watch next?
I got to check in on Billions because I didn't watch their most recent season because they stopped filming due to COVID. But I think that they're back into it, so they might be caught up again.
I got to find I do not want to subscribe to Showtime.
That's another thing that I have, Showtime, HBO Max.
Please. Yeah, I don't want to subscribe to that.
If there's only a service that would package all this together and I could watch one thing.
Oh, wouldn't that be great if that happened? By the way, on our masterclass, this was cool today. I don't know if you saw when I posted this in our Slack group chat. I'm watching the Penn and Teller masterclass about how to do the most basic trick, which is that sleight of hand where you've got something in your hand and then all of a sudden it's gone, right? And they're showing people and they're practicing how to do that. Penn Jillette does all the talking and Teller never talks. On the masterclass, Teller is the one leading the class.
Nice.
And I've never heard him talk before.
Yeah,
I've been following Penn and Teller forever. And oh my God, when he opened his mouth and words came out, that's what you sound like.
That's what people say when we do those YouTube things.
People say it about me. That's what you sound like?
No. About
OG
me.
does all the talking all the time.
With the bag thing.
Oh, with the bag thing.
Oh my God.
That's what look. He's so handsome.
I know.
That's what they keep saying.
It is a thing that is said. You're right.
Yeah.
Have a good Christmas, dude. See ya.
You too, brother.